Good morning, everyone. Roper here with Roper Wood Turning. Now, when I show up in the morning, I like to do a little bit of warm-up before I just get into the projects that I'm working on. I found that a great warm-up in the morning is to turn a spinning top. It's got all of the spindle techniques that I'm going to be using all day, and if I get this right, then I know the rest of the day should go pretty well. So the first thing that I've got here is I've got a 2x2, 3-inch long piece of honey locust. Okay. First thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to use my center finder here to find center on this blank so that I can mount it onto the lathe. After I found center on both sides, I'm going to take a carpenter's center punch and I'm going to give myself a dimple on each side so that I can fit it onto the points of my drive spur and my live center. Now, when I'm doing this, I'm going to bring my tailstock up, okay, but I'm not going to have too much pressure on the blank to start with, okay. I want to make sure that my tailstock is locked down before I have too much pressure on my blank, okay. Now that the tailstock is locked down, I'm going to use the hand wheel to advance the quill and give myself some pressure on the blank. What I'm looking for here is to make sure that all the teeth on the drive spur are engaged and that I have no gap between my live center and the work. Once I've achieved that, I lock the quill down and I get the tool rest in position. Okay, make sure that your tool rest is parallel with your work, just like that. Okay, so now we're going to get this round. I'm going to use a spindle roughing gouge to take this blank from square to round. Okay, we know that with our spindle rules, we have to be cutting from a larger diameter down to a smaller diameter so that we have that supporting fiber. So I'm going to start on the tailstock end, I'm going to slowly nip these corners away, and I'm going to get this blank down to round. Remember, we want to turn safe, so always make sure you have your face shield on. Now that my block is round, I'm going to put a tendon on it so that I can put it into the 4-jaw chuck. I want to have the piece in the 4-jaw chuck so that I can make that big elongated cove on the front and get that nice point for it to spin on. I'm going to use my spindle gouge right here. Okay. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to score a line right here. I'm going to sever these fibers. Then I'm going to come in and I'm going to create the dovetail angle. Now that we've got our dovetail set, let me swap this over and we're going to get this into the 4-jaw chuck. Alright, now when I'm putting this piece into the 4-jaw chuck, the one thing that I really want to watch out for is I want to make sure that my shoulder here sits nice and flat against this shoulder cut that I made on the blank. Alright, we want to tighten this down in here, nice and snug. Just like that. Let's get rid of this tailstock. Now, I'm going to angle my tool rest at 45 degrees across the side of the piece. I'm going to cut from a larger diameter down to a smaller diameter, and I'm going to create an elongated cove and give myself a nice sharp point here on this end. Alright, now that I have my shape created, I'm going to use a negative rake scraper real quick, and I'm going to clean up any of the tool marks or any of the marks that the heel of the gouge left here on the face. just like that. Now, I'm going to do a little bit of sanding, and I'm going to apply some finish to this end before we cut the handle on here. Now, I'm going to use some 180, some 220, and some 320, okay? I got this wonderful new sandpaper from the people at United Ink. I really enjoy it. It cuts really quick and clean, and it really has taken my sanding time way down. Alright, now notice when I'm sanding, I sand up to the point. I'm not sanding over the point. I don't want to round this over. I want to keep this nice and sharp. Okay? Now that we have this all sanded, I'm going to do a little bit of finishing real quick on that end. Okay? The first product we're going to use is called Yorkshire Grit. It's a pumice paste. It's my last bit of sanding before I actually apply my finish. Okay? Now, I like to apply this with the machine off, or else it goes everywhere except for where you want it. Once I've got it on there, fire it up to speed. Alright, now we're going to apply some finish to the end of it. My favorite friction finish, Pens Plus. It works really well and it's really easy to use. Same thing, as I'm going to put some finish onto the rag here, I'm going to apply it to the piece with the machine off. After I've got it on there, then I'm going to fire it up. Looks really nice. Alright, so now we're going to get ready to cut the stem. Alright, now that we've got the face all turned, I'm going to bring the tailstock back up and give myself a little bit of support here while I cut out the stem. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this little piece of foam, I'm going to put it right here on the face so that I don't mar it. I'm going to bring the tailstock back up and give myself just a little bit of pressure so that I can support that end while I'm removing this material and turn the stem. Now that the back side of the top is turned, before I remove too much material here on the stem, I'm going to sand this and get this all prepped before I remove too much material and this stem becomes too thin and the piece starts wobbling around on me. that's how quickly we're going to sand this. Remember, if your cuts are efficient and clean, sanding shouldn't take you very long. So now we're going to cut the handle or the spinning end. We're going to do an elongated cove here so that it fits really well in our fingers so that we can get a good spin out of it. That's a good shape. So now we're going to get that handle sanded up here, and then we'll get some finish on it. Now that we're all sanded up, we're going to put some more Yorkshire Grit on here. Remember, it's easier if we shut the machine down to apply this. If not, it's going to go everywhere except for on your piece. Alright, there's our Yorkshire Grit. Next, we're going to get some Pens Plus on here. Get this nice and shiny. That's nice. Alright, so now we're going to cut this off the lathe. Now I'm going to take my spindle gouge, I'm going to do a half bead here on the end, and I'm going to part this right off the machine. There we go. That's my warm-up when I get into the shop to make sure everything's flowing well. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can email me at roper@roperwoodturning.com or find me on Facebook and Instagram at Roper Woodturning. Thanks, guys.